Tonight on NewsVision, a historic rainfall in South Florida leaves the campus and surrounding areas underwater. Plus, one UM student has been arrested. We will tell you why. And later on, we will take you to two races celebrating Veterans Day.
The environment right now just talks about military, fire, police.
These stories and a lot more on tonight's episode of NewsVision. It starts right now.
Hello and welcome to NewsVision. I'm Melanie Lowe.
And I'm Harvey Duplock. Thank you for joining us today.
Today, classes have been canceled in public schools across Broward County north of here because of a historic rainfall over the last couple of days.
Here in Coral Gables, the National Weather Service says around 9.5 inches of rain fell from Tuesday morning through today. Miami streets and the rain left Miami streets flooded and left tens of thousands of South and Central Florida residents without power on campus. Students on the first floor of the University Village faced flooding. Water poured around furniture, soaking carpets and personal belongings. Many parking lots in the area also flooded, including the lot at a popular off-campus student housing complex. Well, Melanie, I don't know about you, but driving last night, I could not see a single thing.
On a scooter with an umbrella was even worse, Harvey. It was a sight to see. Well, our weatherman, Quinn Davidson, is here to tell us all about the rain. Quinn, what happened yesterday?
Melanie, I think historic is the perfect word to describe what happened yesterday. We had an amount in 24 hours of 7.53 inches of rain, which broke the record of 3.41 set back in 1994. This was South Florida's wettest day in over a decade. 7.53 is just the 24-hour total. If you're looking at the 48-hour total, all across the map, these areas down here have 14 or more inches of rain. Here in Coral Gables, we had 9.37 inches, and Lauderdale by the Sea, an impressive 13.31 inches. Our radar recap shows this mesoscale vortex system pushing through and just drenching Miami-Dade County with copious amounts of rain and creating a treacherous travel day.
Thank you, Quinn. UM students are speaking up after an announcement that may affect their ability to prepare for finals. Daryl Barnes is live outside the Richter Library with the latest. Daryl, what are students so upset about?
Guys, this is the petition that students started after the Richter Library behind me announced that their doors will no longer be open 24/7 during finals week. The library cited budget cuts for the reason why these doors will be closed from 2 to 6 a.m. once finals get started here in a couple of weeks. Now, students say it's not the four fewer hours that they're upset about, but it's just the notion that academic resources here on campus are depleting while things like concerts, athletics, are thriving. Sky's petition cites numbers like these as reasons why students are upset. The cost of attendance, about $90K per student. The Everbrighter campaign has raised over $1.63 billion for the university, and the school is actually paying out head football coach Mario Cristobal $8 million per year for 10 years on a 10-year contract, and the university is planning to spend an estimated $100 million on a football facility. Now, the student petition already has 500 signatures in just 24 hours, and the university has not yet commented. So for now, that means students will still have to vacate the library from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. during final season. Reporting live from the Richter Library, Daryl Barnes, UMTV.
Thank you, Daryl. One University of Miami student has been charged by the Department of Justice for conspiracy to commit computer and mail fraud, as well as substantive mail fraud. From December 2021 to April 2022, 21-year-old Matthew Frederick Bergwell gained access to employee accounts of a multinational shipping, receiving, and supply chain management company. This allowed him and other co-conspirators to enter false tracking information for merchandise and get full refunds despite having the items in their possession. In a statement, federal investigators said the FTID fraud scheme caused nearly 10,000 fraudulent returns and resulted in more than $3.5 million in lost product and sales revenue to the victim retailers. If convicted, Bergel could face up to 45 years in prison.
Monday marked the one-year anniversary since a shooting on the University of Virginia campus killed 3 of the school's football players, including Miami native Deshaun Perry. Morgan Champy tells us how the South Florida native's life is being celebrated in a special way.
Love, art, football. Those are 3 things that the late Deshaun Perry kept close to his heart. On November 13, 2022, Perry and his teammates Devin Chandler and Lavelle Davis Jr. were killed in a shooting on the University of Virginia campus. They had just returned from a class trip when another student opened fire on the bus.
He was an extraordinary young man, a remarkable young man who was very respectful. He worked in the community and his church and worked with the youth. And, unfortunately, his life was cut down tragically in a senseless act.
A studio art major from Miami, Perry had a passion for creativity outside the sport he loved. One of his dreams was to have his work displayed at famous events like Art Basel. For the one-year anniversary of his death, his life was celebrated in such fashion. Love, Art, Football was organized to celebrate Perry's life and showcase the work he created before he died.
I wanted to find a way to honor him, and I decided to do this exhibit on him to show the world and to display to the world his artwork that he phenomenally did, I wanted to show that he had not only had a love for football and his family and his community and his church, he also had a love for art.
The exhibit features various types of art, from sketches to sculptures to memorabilia from Perry's playing days, and his community has been nothing but supportive and grateful.
The community came out. The outpouring of love and support was phenomenal for the family, just to let the family know that we stand with his parents and his family. We have their backs through this most tumultuous time, and remembering his tragic death. And he just had a promising future. He was that shining light, and we just had to do something.
Although Perry is not around to share his love of art and football with others anymore, it's certain that his passions will carry on his legacy for years to come. For UMTV, I'm Morgan Champy.
This past semester, the Whitton University Centre was home to a living and learning mural dedicated to the LGBTQIA experience. Our reporter Kayla Butter is outside the mural's former home. Kayla, can you tell us where it's going?
I'm here at the University Center, the former home for UM's Gender and Sexuality Studies Living and Learning mural. The mural was originally a civic engagement project by UM students in 2021 to teach their fellow peers about LGBTQ icons. The mural, which was previously on display right here at the University Center, will now live permanently at the Stonewall National Museum in Fort Lauderdale. The Stonewall National Museum has the largest collection of LGBTQ archives in all of the United States. A lot of UM students traveled with the mural today in celebration of the fact that it is now on display to a larger audience. Reporting live for UMTV from the University Center, I'm Kayla Butter.
Thank you, Kayla. Today, the UM LGBTQ Student Center set up a transgender memorial on campus to remember the 25 lives lost from hate crimes in 2023 alone. The memorial was set up to mark the annual Transgender Day of Remembrance and Resilience, which is held on November 20th. This year's memorial honored 25 victims of anti-trans violence. Visitors could see their faces and read about their stories. And as recent Florida legislation impacts the LGBTQ community, residents say the memorial is especially significant.
The memorial is just, to give them faces, give them names, and it tells a little bit about who they are. And, really brings people into the statistics rather than just 25 people, it's 25 individuals.
Organizers say increasing awareness and education about transgender issues is important. And anyone who may have questions can contact the LGBTQ Student Center at lgbtq.studentaffairs.miami.edu.
And yesterday, the LGBTQ+ Student Center held a tribute to victims of HIV/AIDS. They partnered with the AIDS Quilt Memorial Foundation to help raise awareness and break the stigma around the disease. The quilts displayed are made by the family members of those who have died from AIDS.
They would list pictures and information and wonderful remembrances for their family on their quilt, and they would use that as a way to kind of celebrate and remember them.
Hundreds of quilts have been made and displayed nationally, and this is the first time they've been on campus since 2006. The event ended with a traditional lotus fold of the quilt, where 8 people unfold the corners, raise it above their heads, and walk in a circle 3 times. The ceremony is the foundation's symbolic way to represent those lost.
And coming up, see what earned one former soldier the nickname Mr. Inspiration. We'll be right back.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
6, 5, 4.
Nearly 300,000 demonstrators, including some students, gathered at the National Mall Tuesday in support of a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. The march called March for Israel was arranged by the Jewish Federation of North America and the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations, with the goal of raising awareness for the people killed in the conflict as well as the Israeli hostages held by Hamas.
Today, all of you are here showing we will not hide in the face of adversity in America and in Israel.
The majority of U.S. lawmakers have rejected calls for a ceasefire, saying Israel is justified in fighting back against Hamas.
Back to Miami now, where the weather for the past few days has been completely crazy. I got so soaked on my way to class yesterday.
Oh, on my way to the Everglades special, I was walking in ankle-deep water. It was unbelievable.
Our forecaster Quinn Davidson is here to give us this weekend's forecast.
Quinn, is it looking like flip-flops or rain boots this weekend?
Good news, Harvey. I think flip-flops are in the forecast. We had some pretty high winds associated with this storm that moved through last night, including a 74-mile-per-hour wind gust in Miami Beach. Luckily, though, these winds have calmed down, including a calm reading in Key West, 5 miles per hour here in Miami, and 14 in West Palm. King tides are in the topic of conversation once again this weekend. We have a coastal flood advisory in effect until 1 p.m. tomorrow. So if you are in a low-lying or coastal flood-prone region, be sure to keep an eye on that as high tides do come. And if you are traveling for Thanksgiving break, Miami International Airport could not be any better. Delays remain unlikely, and this is the same story pushing into tomorrow. Currently, we're sitting at 77 with some cloudy conditions. And looking at all major airports across the country, the trend for no delays is looking likely. So it's going to be a very beautiful travel day. Looking nationally, we have that low that just went through us here in Miami, and that's going to push up the eastern seaboard open to New England and the northeastern region. So if you are traveling there this weekend, that may be a hazard to watch out for. And here in the Pacific Northwest behind me, then that storm moves into the center of our country, which is where they could develop into a Midwestern storm before pushing and making its way to the northeast on Tuesday. This is a very heavy travel day for the Thanksgiving travelers, so definitely something to keep an eye on for in the future. Remote learning on Monday, we have a resume forecast for University of Miami classes, and looking at those temperatures across the country, very autumn-like. We have New York sitting at 55, Greenwich at 53, and Miami and Los Angeles sitting in the 70s and 80s. Thanksgiving is cooking up a pumpkin pie. What is the forecast looking like here in Coral Gables? We could expect 82 degrees, partly sunny, with showers possible, and a beautiful 7-day forecast ahead. Back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Quinn. In honor of Veterans Day last week, ceremonies were held around the nation to honor those who had served. And at the Veterans Day 5K in Davie, Florida, one veteran had quite the story to tell. Andrew Klein has more.
Almost every weekend in Miami-Dade County, you can find a 5K for charity. And at many of these races, you will see one constant face.
And I love running, I love helping people, and I just love to be inspiration to people.
Courtney Barron is a 79-year-old retired veteran who always seems to have a smile on his face. But it took time for Courtney to become the man he truly wanted to be.
I went through a dark time in my life, and I always was a person that loved to inspire people, but I allowed depression to take over. And that's why I have a heart for people who are struggling with depression.
But even through his dark moments, Barron was inspired to persevere.
Well, I have a daughter, and I remember I called her up, she was only 5 years old, and I said, baby, you are a princess, you are a queen. And that was my way of trying to prepare her when she heard the news that Daddy committed suicide.
With the winter season right around the corner, Barron understands the struggles that many people will face.
We're getting near the holiday season, and the holiday season is bad for a lot of people. Those that have lost loved ones, maybe they went through a divorce.
As an advocate for health and fitness, Courtney's gained 3 main nicknames over the years: the ambassador of health and fitness, the godfather of running, and his personal favorite, Mr. Inspiration.
Well, see, the secret is, I'm not always on the mountain. And when I'm sometimes trying to have a pity party, I go out of my way to cheer somebody up. And automatically, you're going to cheer yourself up. So when you give it, come back.
And Barron's ability to help others has not gone unnoticed.
It says that he's dedicated to what he does, and that's what I should be when I grow up.
You see somebody in need of help, you help them. That's why anybody joins the military, is the need to serve, to help your neighbor and your country. And that's what this is all about. And that's what it means to actually serve.
Reporting for UMTV, I'm Andrew Klein.
And a little north of Davie, in Parkland, Florida, nearly 500 people also gathered, for Veterans Day race. But as Wyatt Kopelman explains, one former Marine made sure they were not just focused on their finishing times.
Challenge, heat, physical. They're the characteristics that Soldier Rush founder Manuel Mayer hears from participants in Soldier Rush every year on Veterans Day. In Parkland, Florida, he sets up a military boot camp obstacle course for the last 9 years to bring them what first responders go through.
The environment right now just talks about military, fire, police. And when you get out there in the course, you're going to be able to experience what they do.
At the age of 18, Manuel joined the Marine Corps for reserve duty and would serve the 4th Air Naval Gunfire Liaison Company in Palm Beach. And understanding the power of military personnel didn't take long.
Back in the day, we called in the airstrikes, okay? Our most powerful weapon was a radio, because we had to seek out the enemy and give them grid coordinates on where to drop the bombs.
But when Manuel's time on the front lines was up, he wouldn't stop serving his neighbors. Manuel would get certification from the National Strength and Conditioning Association to open a fitness studio in Coral Springs, Florida. And once he missed out on Operation Desert Storm in Iraq in 1990, he would start his tax-exempt charity Fitness on a Mission to make sure soldiers would get the financial help they needed after they were deployed.
A lot of my guys in my unit went there, and they had a lot of issues when they came back. So, you know, pretty much after I got out, I'm like, man, how can I help these guys out?
And now he looks forward to still seeing his obstacle course push people to their physical limits, while knowing first responders can make ends meet.
Manny was saying out on the course, this is the toughest, easiest race you'll do. In other words, it may not be the most complex race, but it is intense, and you'll get an excellent workout in.
Manny is always taking it up a new notch, doing things that are new and fun, so that there's a challenge, but it's also a fun time along the way.
Manny and his course troops woke up hours before sunrise here in Parkland, Florida to face obstacles like this American flag climbing wall. But this course also reminds them that protecting America's communities can feel a lot more challenging than just going 3.5 miles.
I can tell he's really passionate about supporting our veterans, and that's what this event does. So whenever I have the opportunity to do this, I'm always going to seize that opportunity, because I really like what this event stands for.
Competing in Soldier Rush may push participants to physical exhaustion, but it leaves them with the confidence to help first responders who still help them. Reporting for UMTV, I'm Wyatt Kopelman.
Keep moving. Please do not.
Thank you, Wyatt. And up next on NewsVision, the Hurricanes made the trip up to FSU for a huge rivalry game. Plus, Miami basketball is rolling. This and more after the break.
Owen, let's talk for a second.
Hi, Ellen. Come on in.
When you came into my life, it was a whirlwind.
I just can't do it.
It'll come to you.
It won't.
We had a lot to learn about each other. A lot. Hey, looks good. Things were changing so quickly.
Uh-oh.
We didn't know what the future would hold. Any of us. I just wish he felt more at home now. But we we knew you would always be a part of it. Adopting you was the best decision in our life. And I'm so proud to call you my son.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Manny Nacarado, and welcome to sports. The Miami Hurricanes traveled to Tallahassee to face off against number 4 ranked Florida State in the team's annual rivalry game. Let's take a look at those highlights. So here we're taking it up late in the second. Here's a corner end zone throw to Jacoby George for Miami's first points of the game. What a touchdown there from Jacoby. And here's a handoff from Jordan Travis. The game is tied here. This is Trey Benson breaking through the trenches, and he looks like he's going to go all the way for Florida State. They're going to go up 1 late in the third quarter. Look at Florida State. Do Campo going crazy, but here's Emory Williams in a gotta-have-it situation. Jacoby George in double coverage, and he's going to break the 2 defenders and go all the way for the score. His second touchdown, 85 yards on that one. Look at the shock on those Seminole fans. But Emory Williams did suffer a compound fracture, so Tyler Van Dyke's going to finish the game here, and he's got to have it for the completion, and that's an interception. And Florida State's going to remain undefeated, and Miami's going to face off Louisville this Saturday. Switching from the gridiron to the hardwood, Hurricanes basketball faced off against FIU in an in-county grudge match. Matthew Cleveland had himself a night, finishing with 23 points. Wooga Poplar and Bensley Joseph not far behind with 18 points each. Miami won 86-80, but the story of the game was turnovers. Miami recorded 14 of them, which is why the Panthers were able to climb back into the game late. As far as the big man, Norchad Omier dominated the boards for the Canes, bringing in 11 rebounds. After the game, Miami head coach Jim Larinaga said he was proud of how his team came back from 12 points down.
Well, what I told him after the game was very simply this, that every opponent is different. And, you know, whether you play a team that presses or packs it in or sits in a zone, a team that plays fast, a team that plays slow, you know, every night is really a different challenge. And tonight we had to elevate our game to accept the challenge, because when we were down 12, it didn't look good for us.
Winning Sports Fest at the University of Miami can turn a dormitory from neighbors to brothers and sisters. But for one team, this year's victory felt what they say was overdue. Shay McDonald explains.
Every year there's one event you can count on to unite the University of Miami community while also inciting heated competition, and that's Sports Fest. The 37-year tradition was back, and 17 teams made up of nearly 500 students represented their housing groups in a series of competitions to once again settle who's the best. Over the course of the weekend, teams competed on the fields, the courts, the diamond, and even on the dance floor. The games were intense and competitive, filled with energetic crowds cheering on teammates, spectacular plays and highlights, and down-to-the-wire games decided at the last moments. While Sports Fest is about the wins and losses, even more so it's about coming together as a school for a fun weekend. Regardless of if you won or lost, if you represented commuters or Stanford, the games brought people together and built teams, friendships, and most importantly, community. It was a fun and hectic weekend that could only be accomplished by the intramural staff and referees who do all the hard work to put everything together. In setting up fields, organizing brackets, keeping things on schedule, and dealing with the complaints from participants, they do it all. It's a tough job that comes with pressure and confrontations, but to them, the community and connections with the students are worth it.
It's a lot of fun to be able to get to know them on and off the fields, and you kind of see this adverse side to a lot of people because they'll get really strong-hearted and get into the game, and then they'll come up and shake your hand after and say thank you so much for everything you've done for us.
When the games wrapped up, everyone gathered around as the results were announced. Teams were rewarded for sportsmanship, spirit, and winning individual events, but after all of those, the winners of this fall's Sports Fest were declared.
I don't know. In first place in 2023, Fall 2023 Sports Fest, we have Eaton.
It was a special win for Eaton, who last won 30 years ago in 1993, a fact they use as motivation to win.
So Eaton, right? You know, you got a bunch of beautiful residential colleges, right?
Eaton ain't got a dub in about 30 of them.
Talk to him.
It's over now.
With the sun set on this year's Sports Fest, we look to next year to see who's going to take the crown. With that said, I'll leave you the message from the champs.
Back to back with it. Back to back. Back to back. Back to back. Let's go.
For UMTV, I'm Shea McDonald.
With Thanksgiving on the horizon, food drives are on the table here in Miami. More on some of those giving efforts after another short break.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving, the ultimate party foul.
Today is Give Miami Day, a 24-hour annual giving event that raises awareness about non-profit organizations and inspires people to donate to causes that matter to them. The day was created in 2012 and since then has raised $145 million for more than 1,000 organizations. These organizations need resources to be able to continue doing the work they do. And last year, more than $32 million was raised in a single day.
With Thanksgiving next week, many look forward to celebrating with a big meal, but it's easy to forget how food is not readily available for some. Now, the Canes Community Food Pantry seeks to address food insecurity on campus. It's run by UM's Eco Agency that partners with Good Samaritan Meals to take grocery store waste and help feed members of the community who need it.
A lot of people don't recognize it here at because we are on like this beautiful campus, and a lot of people aren't seeing the real lack of access to food that people do have. So I think we're here not only to just be able to provide that, but also to raise awareness that these issues do exist.
The pantry is open from Monday through Friday and is located by Lakeside. Don't be hesitant to stop by and grab something or donate if you can.
Last Friday, local small business owners gathered at the Women's Club in Coconut Grove for their annual Holiday Makers Market. Reporter Kayla Butter has the story.
Elizabeth DeVoe, owner of Heritage Collections, an African accessory business, is new to the Miami market and loved its focus on women-owned businesses.
Being a woman in entrepreneurship is different, a little different, because we have mommy skills, business skills, and we have to think about all those things.
Elizabeth is one of some 30 small business owners from across South Florida who attended the annual Holiday Makers Market at the Women's Club of Coconut Grove on November 10th. Lisa Remini, member and former president of the Women's Club and market vendor, says her favorite part about the Makers Market is meeting new people.
I sell these cards all over the world, but I don't often get to interact with people directly that buy them. So it's nice to have this I don't do this kind of thing very often, so it's nice. It's nice to have contact with the community.
We've met vendors selling different items, and we sit down and talk, and we build connections and network. It's such an awesome event. So I think the Women's Club is doing such a great thing.
The Women's Club of Coconut Grove, which was founded all the way back in 1891, engages in community service projects all year round, including rewarding scholarships to students, hosting food drives, and donating to local hospitals and homeless shelters. Last week's market event will bring a donation toward the local food pantry, just in time for Thanksgiving. Kayla Butter, UMTV.
The Everglades National Park has been celebrating its 75th anniversary this year.
And our team here at NewsVision had the opportunity to take a comprehensive look into the history and significance of these wetlands. The 1-hour special focused on the Everglades will premiere tonight at 8 p.m. on umtvmiami.edu. Make sure to tune in.
I have to say, Harvey, getting to experience a project like this, especially my freshman year, was so unforgettable.
It's so rewarding, and I truly hope that everyone at home enjoys the event.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's episode of NewsVision. Thank you so much for tuning in.
We are on Thanksgiving break next week, but we will see you in 2 weeks for our last show of the semester. Have a great holiday and stay safe. Well,